Welcome back, everybody, as we go into game number 2 of Zero versus Hiya. This is a TVZ. Both the players are ready inside the lobby, and the countdown has begun. This is GOM TV's Classic, round of 4, season number 4. Just a bunch of 4s today. Now, looks like the game is underway on the map Python. We have our Zerg opponent spawning at the 6 o'clock position here. He is Zero. And now we have at the 2 o'clock position our Terran player took game number 1. He will be Hiya. Hiya had quite a good year last year. Unlike Zero, who didn't really participate in any Brood War because he was still part of a StarCraft 2 team, Hiya, he left pretty early on, and he was able to compete in the Sonic Star Leagues and had great results. I'm not sure if he actually claimed a gold in any of his tournaments, but he claimed a couple silvers, a few semi-final positions here. He just wasn't able to overcome the TVT power of C. But fortunately, this is not a TVT, and Python, if you guys remember from the old Brood War days, this was the fighting spirit of basically Battle.net, Icy Cup, Fish, all the places that you could play the Brood War game. It would be on this map Python, but nowadays it has been completely replaced with fighting spirit, and not as many people play it. Notably, there is a giant serpent in the middle, and if there's a lot of action, we will eventually have that portion of the map revealed, and then you will know that this game has taken an epic turn. So Zero, he's going to have to be a little bit confident in the way he goes with his build order this time, because Hiya, he really got away with an easy win. And if he can do that again, then Zero's not going to know really what to do. You know, his scouting sometimes just isn't enough, and you have to play a little bit more defensively with your build here. The spawning pool is on its way, and I think that they're trying to count how many drones are on the map there. And it was basically, I think it was a 9 hatch, and then a spawning pool after that. So hatch first, spawning pool, and Overlord. So as these drones mine, what kind of build should Hiya go for here? I mean, with that 2 racks, once he denied the scouting at his main base, it looks like Zero, he's getting a little bit more confident with that drone because he really wants to be sure when that command center does go down. And did he barely see that SEV here? This could be a total fake if Hiya wanted to go for it, but generally you do want to see that rats expand, putting a bunker out at the front to defend if you need to, but you don't even need to build that bunker quite right away here. So Zero, he was doing a very aggressive scouting here because he needed to make sure that command center is down. And at this point, he will be dropping a additional macro hatchery inside of his main base. Still, this could be a muta build. I wouldn't think of anything less, because in ZVT these days, with the late metagame, it's just basically mutas are going to harass off these 2 bases until you can expand safely to a 3rd, probably towards that top left corner. And the way you do it as a Zerg player is you try and find either the natural or main where there's an additional gas. And generally players choose the main because you're up that ramp and you have the defender's advantage. And you can put a lurker on top of that ramp. And I'm not sure how good that works on Python though, because it is an older map. So it may change where you do decide to build your 3rd base as a Zerg player. Me being a Protoss player, I do not remember quite where the 3rd will be positioned. Probably over at that 9 o'clock location though. So the macro hatchery is done. The natural base is mining. And how quickly is that gas going to be taken? So seeing that there's no extractor built right away at that natural base could mean that we might see something a little trickier. Maybe lurkers could get mixed in with this if he goes for the Hydralisk then. Very curious to see how Zero does play this out. But that's quite a bit of Marines for Hiya. A huge investment in the army this early on means that he will have to try and get a little bit aggressive here to equalize the disadvantage he puts himself at by investing in army so fast. But Hiya here, he's got the academy spinning, so STEM will be researched. And this is just a pure bioforce at this time, but I imagine you mix in 1 or 2 more medics, and then this is just such a deadly force for Hiya. And once he pushes out here, Zero is going to be in a lot of trouble. He is building Lings though, and look at that, the Hydra's Den is up, so fast lurkers could definitely be the case here for Zero. Now the Marines moving out with these medics, they're down the ramp, and they have definitely shown their cards here. Hiya has been exposed, but Zero, he can stay calm. That lurker tech is able to be researched so fast here, and I don't see any comsat stations for Hiya. That's really something that he's going to need, or else his army will get pushed back right away. Still, with the fire bats mixed in here, he is going to be forced to add creep colonies, and a scan inside the natural base isn't going to reveal anything, because even with that extractor built, as long as there were 3 drones mining at that extractor, okay, so here you see that there was only 1 drone mining at the extractor. Hiya could say with his scout that, hey, that's not quite enough drones to go for 2 base muta. I could be expecting lurkers. These players are so smart that they can gather that information really quickly. Meanwhile, you know, some of us players and casters here have to really, you know, just get picky at what we see here, because the comsat station does not reveal quite as much as we get to see as the observers here. A huge Ling attack, though, is not going to be enough. He does have speed researched on these Lings, but that's quite a bit. I wonder if Zero's going to be able to take this game. 3 racks for the Terran player Hiya, and +1 attack will be coming along for these Marines. And I think +1 attack would definitely be the route to go. But armor might be more useful against lurkers if he does anticipate that. Mutas aren't out yet, and at this point you could expect a possible mutaflock coming along. So the 2 bunkers along with that turret in the middle is going to be him anticipating that this is going to be a lurker bust. So 25 Lings on the map. That's 1 more than the amount of Marines, which is 24. And now the lurkers are coming in here. The Lings are pushing across too. And really the Terran player wants to defend against this bunker. Not having to use scans and being in range of that turret is going to be so effective for Hiya. And now he's stimming out again, trying to catch these lurkers while they're unburrowed. And it's going to force Zero to push in with these Zerglings because he does not want to use these lurker units. Catching them unburrowed was so huge for Hiya. He almost managed to pick one off. It got on low health. Meanwhile, now he's going for... Okay, so the factory is finished up, but he's going for that starport so that way the science vessels can get out. Science vessels, another unit that has the ability for detection and irradiate, which really combats this build very well. But it takes a while to get those science vessels out. So with that add-on to that factory, he could do a couple things. Maybe get siege takeout, which would probably be the most useful unit at this time. But going for spider mines and trying to catch units off with the spider mines could be pretty useful too. That's something that you would react with in a TVP if you have Dark Templars and no detection. You could use those spider mines because they will detect anything that is cloaked or burrowed. And look at this, a huge push in here. Zero's trying to go for the break. That's a lot of units behind here. No SCVs being pulled for repaired. And almost all the Zerglings are dead here. Wow. And the lurkers, though, there are 4 left still remaining, pushing at the front. I don't know if Zero's going to have enough to continue to engage here, but it seems like he's continuing to macro up well with his army. Units still pushing in from the back, but there is a tank. Siege mode is not finished, and that's going to be so important here. The SCVs are making their way inside that main base, trying to run everything away, and eventually he might have to lift that command center too. He's going to let it just take a little bit more damage before he does lift it, though, trying to get the maximum usage out of it that he can. And a scan goes down. The Zerg units, they really can't get up that ramp at this time, especially with siege mode available now for these siege tanks. It's going to be so hard for Zero to get up inside of Hiya's base, but at least that natural is no longer mining. The huge thing here is, dropship is out. So drop play can come from Hiya, and Zero doesn't have a third base. Behind this, he's really almost all in at this point, and he's got to continue to keep pumping units out. So if an effective drop can come here from a bunch of Stin Marines, basically Hiya will put Zero so far behind if these drones die. So that's scouted. The Lings even see the dropship. There is no Spire. The Queen's Nest is done, so Hive play can come into here next, and that's going to lead to Defiler play, which is really something that Zero wants to get to, so that way he can Dark Swarm and get up that ramp. And this is going to get seen really easily caught right here. Hiya not able to do any damage. Zero reacting perfectly to get his Zerglings in position inside that main base. And basically they'll just kind of escort that dropship on the ground because they do have that speed upgrade, which allows them to keep pace with that dropship. And another engagement here. Is he going to be able to hit the tanks on the high ground? He really doesn't have that vision. A ComSat station would be so useful for Zero right now. And now the detection from that science vessel is going to be available here. And Hiya, he's staying really aggressive with that dropship too. It looks like the Lings might just be slightly out of position here. Can he do a nice block off with a medic and a stim firebat perfectly, keeping these Lings at bay? And wow, that sunken colony, it's not going to be enough here. It will get picked off eventually, but the Lings will come in, and the sunken colony just lives with a slither of health here. And looking at the unit tracker, it actually has one sunken colony, one sunken as a unit down there, which is pretty cool. Three lurkers, 14 Lings, to 4 tanks, 5 medics, and 23 Marines. So now I think this is Hiya saying, well, you may have completely destroyed my natural at some point here, but I'm going to turn around, I'm going to destroy yours, and it's not even an all-in moment because he can recover very well from this, but this is a really strong attack for Hiya, and I think that this might just do it for our Zerg player Zero. Will he be able to defend here? It's going to come down to if these Defilers are able to get out, and Dark Swarm will be able to defend a little bit better and effectively against these tanks. Now up to a total of 7 lurkers, but he really doesn't have too much supporting it. 17 Lings is really not that much, especially when the Marine count is higher than the Ling count. And they can really completely out-heal that. The size vessels with their radiate is going to make it really difficult too for the Zerg player. So Zero, he needs to focus on getting a third base. But it's so hard when Hiya knows that he can just keep track of the amount of bases, especially with that dropship and scans available to him, which means that he should never fall behind the Zerg player. He can either attack the third when the additional hatchery does come down, or he could build a command center and respond by building a third of his own, which means his economy will just continually become stronger and stronger. But now another dropship is going to make its way out, and I think that Zero will be able to react to this pretty well. But the consumability done with the Defiler, and now a move in. These siege tanks are in great position, though. They have just the proper amount of spread between them to kill off units as they try and engage here. And a defensive lurker inside that natural base, really well positioned here, is going to be enough to get that dropship warded off one more time. And push it at the natural. It's almost like this is a full counterattack, seeing that the units were out of position for the Terran player. But Hiya, he was not fully committed to attacking the Zerg player at this time. I think that he could still defend here. And wow, he's actually just gathering his units and going straight for the natural base of Zero. And I'm not sure that's what Zero really wants. He doesn't have anything to defend. He's going to lose his natural base so quickly here. And now a dropship inside the main base at this time too. This is going to spread his army out. But Hiya's being really indecisive here. I think he wants to save his natural base and depend on his drops. Okay. I still think that Zero's way behind here on economy. He's not even mining in his main base. And a lot of the units are going to get lost for Zero one more time. So Hiya, even though he didn't decide to take out that natural base, he's still got a great economic lead. Even with that command center lifted off in his natural base, he should be able to pick off these units fairly easily here. And just continuing to take out these tech buildings, he could almost take out that Defiler. the Defiler building there and the Defiler mound. And now he's moving out with these fire bats. Scourge not able to do any more than pick off one of these science vessels here, and eventually the lurkers are cleaned up inside that natural base one more time. Zero is just continuing to stay aggressive, but I just feel like there's way too much in army supply. 7 tanks and 30 marines. That's huge. Biomech is so difficult to deal with, and even though there's tier 3 units on the map, this is a very, you know, middle tier army for Hiya. And these Marines are going to have to stem right under that Dark Swarm. It will cause them to pull back a little bit because the Lurkers can do a ton of damage once that range attack is mitigated. And so pulling back those tanks again. I wonder why Hiya seems so scared to attack that natural. I feel like he had so many opportunities to be able to take it out. Only on 4 racks, which is surprisingly low. Sometimes you see the Terran player get up to 6 barracks, and he does have a few factories here, so that way he can pump out those mech units. And since the spawning pool is taken out, there are barely any lings on the map, almost to 0. And Zero has basically zero army. No pun intended here. He has absolutely nothing to defend against Hiya. And it's just a waiting game here. I mean, I think Zero must know at some level that there's no way that he can win this game. But Hiya, he feels that he's in a difficult position trying to push in here. And Defender's advantage is so huge in Brood War that sometimes he could just absolutely throw the game. And wow, those Scourge just barely not seeing it in time, and Zero returns them to patrol. Does not want to lose those Scourge. He needs to stay completely defensive here. And all this is being able to take out those Lurkers. Once the Lurkers go down, then Hiya can just have free reign here. A slow move of siege tanks again. And the scary thing about being a Zerg or a Protoss player when you play against Terran is you can hear those siege tanks very easily in the distance. And you're just like, wow, that sounds like a ton of army. Am I going to even be able to take this out? And eventually Zero does tap out. GG. Hiya taking game number 2. This is GOM TV's Classic round of 4. And are we going to see a 3-0 from Hiya? Not looking as excited as he did in the first game, but I will see you guys in game number 3 very shortly here. This is BisuDagger.